disorder ass fucking brain.
Do not insult that brain. It's my best friend's brain.
Your best friend's got a weird brain, dude.
Stop insulting my best friend.
No. I spend a lot more time around your best friend than you do. And let me tell you, sometimes his brain gets fucking annoying. You should hear what goes on in there sometimes. It's crazy.
You just gotta wait until you get high enough, and then it's just stream of consciousness.
Oh, that reminds me. Ugh. I gotta smoke up before recording a brand new episode of Soon to Be a Major Motion Podcast. The podcast where we read books that were turned into movies and watch movies based on books. Cody, how have you been since we last spoke?
I've been all right. Halloween happened. I came in second. Well, my group came in second in the Halloween costume contest at work.
We had that wonderful election Tuesday.
We did.
That woke wave hit.
Hell yeah. I almost broke my toe dropping an umbrella.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was fun for like 3 days while I tried to figure out whether my foot was injured or not.
I took a chunk out of my thumb washing dishes, and it wasn't even a sharp dish. It was a pair of kitchen tongs.
Yeah, I think that's about all. How about you? How have you been?
Went to the dentist for the first time in a lot of years.
How did that go?
Sat down and I was like, she's going to tell me I've got 14 cavities. It's going to take 3 hours to fill them all. I'm going to owe $6,000. Somehow, no cavities. Just the early stages of gum disease. Oops.
Very exciting for you.
But mostly because I hadn't had a professional cleaning in 9 years. But all's good. All's good. My teeth are clean now and I'm going back in 3 months for another cleaning.
Do we want to talk about the other thing that happened on Tuesday?
Maybe we shouldn't talk about ongoing litigation on our podcast. Good. Everything's good. For us, everything's good.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, fantastic stuff. God bless you, City of LA.
But also, how fucking funny would it be if they pulled up this episode?
That's why we're not talking about nothing.
And we just have to, like, put up our analytics, like, guys, 8 people heard this and none of them live in LA.
Yeah, right? It's like, if you're worried about what a listener in Dusseldorf has to think, I wonder if they still listen. For a while, we had a listener in Germany. But
I hope they're well.
Me too. I hope all of our listeners are well. Every last 8 of you.
We have more than 8, probably.
No, we don't. It's okay. We do it for fun. There's no ads on this. We're not making money on this. Check our Ko-Fi account in the description below, please.
We do this for $25 a day plus expenses.
Speaking of $25 a day plus expenses, this week we are diving into the hard-boiled detective genre with one of the biggest titles in this genre by one of the biggest authors in this genre, adapted into film starring one of the biggest actors in this genre. We're going back to Raymond Chandler's 1939, technically, novel, The Big Sleep. Cody, how do you know The Big Sleep before we decided to cover this?
So I actually was not familiar with The Big Sleep at all. I only knew it as a movie. I knew that it was a book as well, but I didn't, know anything about it. I'd actually read Raymond Chandler before. I'd read The Long Goodbye in 11th grade, but beyond that, had no knowledge of it, again, except for the movie, knowing that Humphrey Bogart was in it. And I think I also knew it was Lauren Bacall. I just knew it was, a famous femme fatale.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your familiarity with the book or movie?
Honestly, same. I just kind of knew it as an old movie. An old detective movie of the, witty banter, femme fatale, crime drama era, right? Mm-hmm. The hard-boiled detective, I think, is the actual name of the genre at this point. Because it's not quite a noir, which we're not going to get into that because I didn't take notes on that, but it's not quite a noir.
Yeah, it's Chandler-esque.
Yeah,
it's the exact term.
It's a little bit different, but it's witty banter, back and forth, twists and turns, and changing motives, and a mystery that gets unlocked.
Unnecessarily convoluted for no reason.
What I know most about the genre, and to an extent The Big Sleep, before diving into it, was the aesthetics of it. Two people are having a romance, but they're being very cold to each other, kind of. And that, that banter, that back and forth, that sharp wittiness, which I always appreciate. But it was always the aesthetics of the genre that I recognized.
Black and white. It feels greasy when you're watching it.
Everything's a little bit out of focus, grimy, dirty, seedy underbellies of cities, that kind of vibe.
I know it's only a couple of years later, and I understand why it's connected, but like Double Indemnity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's more connected than you know.
Yeah, but just like that kind of like vibe. Even the more modern ones, which I use that term loosely, like The Killing.
The more modern The Killing, which came out 6 years after this.
Was it really the
40s? This was 46. The Killing, I think, was 51, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. I have my copy. Oh, sorry, 56, 10 years.
I don't know why I thought that was, like, 60s.
Because Kubrick was still using black and white into the 60s. Like with, so was Hitchcock. But they also both used color prior. We're not talking about them right now. We're talking about The Big Sleep, which you described a moment ago as Chandler-esque.
Yes.
Raymond Chandler was born in Chicago in 1888 and moved to England with his mother when he was 12 after being abandoned by his alcoholic father. In young adulthood, he became a British subject and joined the... Alright, I'm going to butcher this word because I've never read it before. Admiralty? Admiralty? Okay. In young adulthood, he became a British subject and joined the Admiralty, but he left it to become a journalist because it was boring. While he wasn't very good at journalism, he wrote romantic poetry at the time, always writing. At the age of 24, Chandler moved back to the United States, settling in Los Angeles until 1917, when he up and joined the Canadian Armed Forces and fought in the First World War. Now, a lot of war crimes are because of things the Canadian forces did, I believe, in the First World War. After the war, he returned to Los Angeles, where a romance formed between him and Sissy Pascal, who was the stepmother of a fellow soldier in the war.
She was also married and 18 years older than him.
Due to the 18-year age gap, they waited until Chandler's mother passed away before they got married, because she did not approve.
Very much no, she did not approve, and not only was it because of the fact that she was married when they met.
Dude pulled a fucking Stacy's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
He really did. She was the love of his life.
You know what? When I look up these biographies of these authors, I'm always worried about an 18-year age gap, and at least she was 18 years older.
You know, fair enough.
I'll allow it.
And by all accounts, she was the love of his life, and her death in 1964 was very difficult.
Ruined him.
Yeah.
I believe that's like what drove him to more drinking and maybe some suicide attempts.
Yes.
I kind of stopped my research when we get to the novel because I don't care past that point.
Yes, he attempted, but apparently, according to friends, he called the cops first and said he was going to. So it was more of a cry for help.
Yeah. When he moved to the States, Chandler studied bookkeeping, eventually starting with an oil company. Mm-hmm. And by 1931, he was vice president, but was fired a year later due to his alcoholism and absenteeism and fucking around and threatening to kill himself.
Yeah, Raymond Chandler had some issues.
It took a lot for a white man to get fired from a vice president job in the 30s, and he found a way.
He checked every box.
This being the Great Depression and all, he returned to writing to make ends meet, publishing his first pulp story called Blackmailers Don't Shoot in Black Mask magazine in 1933. Why pulp detective stories when he was previously a journalist and a poet? In his own words, quote, I was about to try to do a voice. I'm not going to do it. Quote, wandering up and down the Pacific coast in an automobile, I began to read pulp magazines because they were cheap enough to throw away and because I never had at any time any taste for the kind of thing which is known as women's magazines. This was in the great days of the Black Mask, if I may call them great days, and it struck me that some of the writing was pretty forceful and honest, even though it had its crude aspect. I decided that this might be a good way to try it to learn to write fiction and get paid a small amount of money at the same time. I spent 5 months over an 18,000-word novelette and sold it for $180. After that, I never looked back, although I had a good many uneasy periods looking forward. A little more detail on that. I cannot remember the name of the author he was studying, but he was basically studying one pulp story for 5 months to learn how to write pulp, and that author would write thousands of stories during their career.
I believe at the time the author, whose name I also forget, publish 3 or 4 more stories in that 5-month period.
Oh, for sure. I'm actually just gonna look it up because we can't both not know the name of an author that we're bringing up as part of our research.
Yeah, it was Eugene LeDutton, I think, or something like that.
Earl Stanley Gardner is the name.
I had some of the letters.
Close enough. During his writing career, Chandler wrote or co-wrote some notable screenplays, including The Black Dahlia, Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity, and Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train.
Oh boy, you want to talk about his relationship with Hitchcock?
Nope. He also wrote a yet-to-be-produced comic operetta called The Princess and the Peddler, which was rediscovered at the Library of Congress in 2014.
There is debate that is actually his.
Is there?
Yes, the estate basically said it's bullshit.
Oh, that's a shame, because I know there was a group trying to get it performed out here.
Yeah, as of, I think, last year.
Yeah, like recently. Of course, Raymond Chandler is best known for the Philip Marlowe novels, beginning with 1939's The Big Sleep. For The Big Sleep, Chandler took 2 earlier short stories of his, Killer in the Rain and The Curtain, and combined them into one kinda cohesive story, using the Marlowe character as a linking thread. The story, as succinctly as I can tell it, is thus. Now, I will note before I begin this paragraph. Yes, I got it into a paragraph.
Very proud of
I
you.
probably missed some shit. I only named 2 characters.
So
Everything else is what they are in the story because, oh my god, there are so many characters with so many names, and depending on which version of the movie you're watching, they have different names. But
So you're summarizing the
I'm summarizing
movie.
the novel.
The novel, okay.
As best I can. You'll tell me where I'm wrong, but I think I've got it pretty close.
Cool.
Here we go. Marlowe is hired by General Sternwood to find out why his younger daughter is being blackmailed. The blackmailer is an erotic bookseller who is shot in his own home where he is found alongside said naked younger daughter and a filmless camera. A different blackmailer steals the first's pornographic inventory, and the general's chauffeur is found dead in his car in the Pacific. The second blackmailer is shot dead by the first blackmailer's boyfriend, and Marlowe helps catch him and destroys the nude photos. Case closed, except it's not. The older daughter's husband has disappeared, possibly with a gangster's wife. The bookstore's clerk's new boyfriend offers to tell Marlowe where the gangster's wife is, but he's killed by the gangster's crony. The clerk gives Marlowe the info, so he goes to find the missing spouses, but is knocked out and kidnapped. The missing gangster's wife is there and frees him. He kills the crony, and the younger daughter attempts to kill him. He figures out that the younger daughter killed her sister's husband. The gangster helped cover it up and blackmailed the older daughter, knowing she'd want to keep it secret from her father.
Yeah, you got it.
Fuck. Anything you want to add?
Who killed the chauffeur?
So is the plot convoluted? Yes. Confusing? Absolutely. Loose plot threads? You betcha. So why is it considered a classic? Vibes, baby. Hey, Cody, who killed the chauffeur?
So
It doesn't matter who killed the chauffeur. Chandler cared less about every detail lining up and more about atmosphere and believable characters. As this is the case, the novel received critical acclaim and is considered one of the best novels of all time, and spawned 6 further novels featuring Marlowe. The character himself is iconic in popular culture, being portrayed in adaptations by James Garner, Elliot Gould, Robert Mitchum, Danny Glover, James Caan, and most importantly for today, Humphrey Bogart. So, anything else you want to say about the novel before we move on to the film? Or do you want to save it for when you review?
No, I think you covered basically everything.
Groovy. I didn't even have to read the thing. So you remember that convoluted plot?
Vaguely.
Yeah. Even the filmmakers had issues with it. So Warner Brothers hired Howard Hawks to direct the picture. So we talked about him briefly as the director of The Thing from Another World in our Thing episode. But he also directed the original Scarface, Bringing Up Baby, His Girl Friday, Marilyn Monroe vehicle Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and Rio Bravo.
Wow, he really had a lot of career killers in there, huh?
He's considered one of the best directors that no one knows the name of.
So I'm just thinking, like, His Girl Friday and Bringing Up Baby were both ones that the female leads, like, their career was considered tanked after.
Bringing Up Baby was fucking...
Bring Up Baby did atrociously.
But it didn't kill... It was, what's her name?
It was Hepburn.
Yeah, it was Kathleen Hepburn. That did not kill her career.
Wasn't it
No, Aubrey Hepburn was later.
Oh, okay.
Hawks never worked with a finalized script during production of this. The initial draft was written by 2 writers. The first, Lee Brackett, who at the time was known as the Queen of the Space Opera during the golden age of science fiction, and she passed away just before her final screenplay was produced, The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh my god. Okay.
The other writer was William Faulkner.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, that William Faulkner. The Sound and the Fury William Faulkner.
You know, suddenly the convolution makes sense. William Faulkner never met a woman he couldn't smack.
After these 2 departed the project, Hawks continued rewriting during production alongside Jules Furthman, who was later nominated for an Oscar for his screenplay for Mutiny on the Bounty. Due to pressure from our old friends, the Hayes office, they needed to cut the pornography, nudity, and homosexuality from the picture.
Cool, so 3 of the reasons. Why even make this movie?
During this phase of the screenwriting process, they also wanted to know who killed the chauffeur. Chandler later said, quote, "They sent me a wire asking me, and damn it, I didn't know either."
Chandler, buddy.
When you take 2 stories and you just kind of tie them together...
You can, literally while reading it, I could feel where the 2 stories got tied together.
You feel it in the films as well.
Yeah, he's like,
there's
oh,
definitely
let's
a
pursue
point.
This thread.
We'll talk about it in more detail, but there's definitely a point in the middle of most versions of this movie that's like, okay, here is where we transition to story number 2.
Yeah. It feels like 2 episodes of a TV show.
Like, he just took some, like, little plot beats from story 2 and sprinkled them at the top. So that when you got there, like, you kind of already knew who these characters were. Like,
this would work... I feel like most of the Philip Marlowe novels would work if it was, like, a TV show, and it was you were pursuing the different plot threads over a couple of episodes, you know?
Like a Poker Face.
Yeah, kind
of,
except she kind of wraps everything up and
she wraps up her individual stories, but there's still the overarching, at least season 1, what we've seen. Like, there's still that overarching story with the shit in Vegas.
Yes.
Back to The Big Sleep. Humphrey Bogart, the guy from Casablanca and Treasure of the Sierra Madre, was cast as Marlowe alongside Lauren Bacall as Vivian, the older sister.
Yes.
What is her name in the book?
Her name is Vivian Regan.
Okay. The 2 began an affair during their previous picture, To Have and Have Not, and Bogart's divorce led to shooting delays on The Big Sleep.
Humphrey.
Basically, he was so stressed out over divorcing his wife for Bacall that he would just get the shakes during scenes, and she would also get the shakes during scenes, and he would be like 6-7 drinks in after lunch. The film was completed in spring 1945, and it followed the plot of the novel fairly closely, besides the Hayes cuts previously mentioned. I used past tense there, though.
You sure did.
The film's release was delayed because of World War II ending. Basically, Warner Brothers had a backlog of war films to be released, and seeing the end of the war in sight, they pushed them all out while they could still make money off of them.
That's not cynical and atrocious.
Yeah, Warner Brothers ain't perfect. During this release delay, though, Bogart and Bacall got married. And also, Bacall's performance in a different movie called Confidential Agent was critically panned. So, to capitalize on the media buzz of their wedding, and to attempt to right the wrongs of Confidential Agent, they ordered reshoots to emphasize the relationship between the 2 characters. Around 20 minutes of the film was completely changed before its release on August 23rd, 1946. Cody, let's watch a trailer.
Can I help you, sir?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking for a good mystery on something off the beaten track, like the Maltese Falcon.
Well, that was a fascinating story. But here's one that has everything the Falcon had and more. It's Raymond Chandler's latest bestseller, The Big Sleep. And what a picture that'll make.
Mind if I look at it? Huh. Sometimes I wonder what strange fate brought me out of the storm to that house that stood alone in the shadows. As I probed into its mysteries, every clue told me a different story. But each had the same ending, murder. Every instinct warned me to beware that something more dangerous, more deadly than I'd ever known before was in that room. And suddenly,
I like that. I'd like more. That's even better.
God, I love those old trailers that are like the actors playing themselves talking about. There's a famous one for Psycho where it's Hitchcock in the house and he just describes the murders that are about to happen in the movie.
Yes, that's such a good trailer.
It's incredible.
It's like, oh, it's incredibly gruesome.
The Big Sleep, as it was released theatrically, removes scenes more integral to understanding the plot in favor of furthering the romance angle between Bogart's Marlowe and Bacall's Vivian. One of these sacrifices is a scene which, in my opinion, is vital to understanding the plot, in which Marlowe explains to the DA and the police what has happened so far and what's left to figure out. And this is straight up 1 hour into the movie.
Yep.
Which is like an hour 50. It is exactly the seam between the two short stories. And oh god, did I miss it. After that scene, Vivian visits Marlowe's office to pay him off and call the case closed. In the theatrical cut, the DA scene is completely left out. And Vivian pays Marlowe at a restaurant where they have a date. The dialogue is flirtier, and the scene ends with Vivian being turned off by his constant detecting. And then they move on to Eddie Mars's house in the gambling den, where some of those same things happen again in the theatrical version, because they were supposed to happen in that scene and not the previous scene. The previous scene was but I digress. That scene's the same in both versions. I did watch both versions of this, and yes, the pre-release 1945 cut, a lot easier to understand what's going on. It's still convoluted as fuck.
Yep.
But I would not have understood the later version if I hadn't watched the earlier one the day before. So outside of the censorship due to the Hays Code, there is one other major change from the novel to the film. Regan. In the novel, Rusty Regan is Vivian's husband. So his whereabouts being unknown, it's a recognizably important thing to the Sternwoods, as are the implications of him running off with Mrs. Mars. In the film, Vivian is married to an unseen Mr. Rutledge, and Sean Regan was just an employee of her father. This less connected relationship makes it less clear why she wants him found, especially when there's dialogue in the film that seemingly mocks the general for hiring a man to sit and drink with him. To me, this sacrifices the character motivations in order to open a door to more banter and romance.
Yeah, it also doesn't make sense, because you would think if they were so, like, why are they so worried about this employee and not the chauffeur?
Yeah, like, they don't give a second thought to Owen Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole crux of the story is where's Sean Regan?
Yeah.
Or where's Rusty Regan? And him just being an employee that the general liked because they were drinking buddies is like, that's it. Really, that's it?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I tried to find out why they made that change, and Google was less than helpful.
I feel like they probably didn't want people to think about divorce and connect divorce and Bogart and Bacall.
Yeah,
That feels like
the thing is, they still made her character married.
Yeah.
We just, never see her husband. So if you're watching this movie with face blindness, when characters are introduced an hour and a half into it, you're thinking, I don't know if that's Sean Regan or her husband, and it's Canino. Like, or Art Huck. Like, there's these characters that are introduced so late that I'm like, I don't know. This could be one of 4 different guys.
Yep.
You know? But yeah, the only thing I could come up with is, because it's kind of unclear, at least in the film, who killed Regan, maybe not having her commit
murder and
like
adultery.
spouse-side, husband-side. I was trying to find the word for it. It didn't come. Yeah, murder and just adultery is fine, because her husband is estranged. But yeah, it struck me as a very odd choice to make.
Yeah, like if she's gonna be married it seems more simple just to have her be married to the missing guy, because they also kind of combine multiple characters. Like, they kind of combine Mona Mars, Eddie Mars's wife, and Vivian's character, because like the scene in the car with them making out, with Vivian making out with him, that happens, but it's mostly like her trying to throw him off the trail. And then the same thing happens in the house later, but it's just Mrs. Mars.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens, they make out, and it's like he clearly has an attachment to Mrs. Mars as opposed to Vivian.
So is in the novel, does Philip Marlowe fuck?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Cause he's like, he hits on a bookstore lady in the movie, and then he gets a lady cab driver, and like they flirt, and like he seems like he wants to get down with Agnes at one point, and then obviously Vivian, and not the younger sister, not Carmen.
No, that's actually something that he points out very early. It's very early foreshadowing, is he talks about, when he's telling the story, he talks about how he always just thought Carmen was a dope.
Yeah. On dope.
Yeah, like he never saw her as anything other than someone who needed help.
Yeah. Which is
Slash was a monster, so
yeah, because if you spurn her advances, she kills you.
Yep.
Spoilers? That's what happens to Regan.
Yes, and it almost happens to Marlowe as well.
Not in the 46 film.
Yeah.
She doesn't make an attempt on him. She actually never comes back after a certain point.
Yeah, he figures it out because she tries to kill him. And he already has he already kind of has an idea of what's happened, but when she basically tries to commit the murder a second time, he has loaded the gun with blanks, and so he gets away. And she has an opium seizure, or laudanum seizure as they called them, and he takes her back to the house, explains everything to Vivian, and Vivian's like, shit, you're right. How much money do you want? He's like, I don't want money. I want you to lock your sister up, and I want you to fuck off. Yeah. Like, leave your dad to die in dignity.
She does not come back after he destroys the pictures. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe once she comes back. But the reason for that is, like, her later scenes were all cut because she was overshadowing Lauren Bacall.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah. She's amazing in that movie.
So I think the scenes after he destroys the pictures, the only time she comes back is she's high as a kite and naked in his bed. So obviously they would have had to cut that because of the nudity.
Yep.
And because her character can't really be the witty banter style of character because of what she's supposed to be, as in an opium addict. Yeah. I'm gonna keep calling it opium. I know they called it something different, but straight up, she was addicted to opiates.
They didn't call it anything in the film. Yeah. Martha Vickers, by the way, is the actress.
Yeah. So pretty much all of her scenes after that point involve her being either naked or trying to kill someone. So.
Yeah, but it would have helped the audience to figure out how Marlowe figured out what happened, you know?
Yeah, it kind of makes Marlowe look like a genius. And not that he's not really smart, he's just observant. He's not necessarily a psychic.
Yeah, he's not Sherlock Holmes, he's just paying attention.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I think now's a good time to talk about, because we're talking about the content a lot. Yeah. But the novel and the film are both known for their atmosphere. So, where do you stand on that? Like, when does it work to have a movie that's just vibes? When does it work to have a movie where the content matters more? Like, or book, I guess, as well.
So, I think it really depends on what you want out of a movie or novel, whatever piece of fiction you're consuming in whatever form. Because, like, if you do something based on vibes, you're gonna get things like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or Van Helsing, or Underworld, which are not necessarily bad movies. They are bad movies, but they're still enjoyable because they're very campy, but they weren't intended to be. If you do something where you're just like, man, that's gonna look really cool and be really fun to watch, that's fine. You can totally do that. When you're trying to do something more serious, you're gonna see the patchwork, you're gonna see the seams, but if something is good enough quality at its base, you're still gonna enjoy the ride. Like, even at the time, they were called pulp novels. Like, you weren't picking them up thinking you were reading Shakespeare, right?
Yeah, they were meant to be thrown away.
Exactly. So Raymond Chandler had no illusions that he was writing high literature that people were going to emulate in 150 years. So he has a quote where he talks about how every writer that the actual quote is, "To exceed the limits of a formula without destroying it is the dream of every magazine writer who is not a hopeless hack." So basically, he knew that he was writing formulaic stuff, and an earlier part of that quote is he's talking about the formula of writing these pulp detective stories, and he's basically like, the ends justify the means. As long as you can find a way to cram your ending and spit out a bunch of fun scenes along the way, nobody's going to care that you didn't actually give a reason or an explanation for who killed the chauffeur. They're going to forget about it by the time you finish the novel, because the rest of it is so enjoyable. And to an extent, he's right. I think the modern watcher of something like that, I think to an extent, CinemaSins culture has kind of led to this.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like things like Knives Out. We still haven't seen Glass Onion, so I'm only going to refer to Knives Out. But you know from the beginning, like when you have seen the movie the first time and you go back and watch it, there are hints of everything, of the reveal later. And I feel like that's a modern development, that it wasn't something that the audience expected in 1939.
I mean, even at that time, we had Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
Who was writing these very, like, dense, intricate murder stories, but everything made sense and lined up. And we've talked about Christie 3 times on this show now.
Yeah.
And her stories, as they are, the Branagh of it aside, are always so well constructed, and this just isn't.
Yeah, but I feel like because Christie had already maintained that reputation, she was also a little bit older when she started writing, and to an extent, she was a woman, so she kind of had to make her
She had to
work
work twice as hard to get half as much, yeah.
Yeah, her work had to be a higher caliber. Not saying that, like, she's better than Raymond Chandler or anything like that, but it's almost not comparable.
Yeah, it's... And I think it goes back to why he started writing pulp, why Chandler started writing pulp, and it was because he lost his actual job.
Yeah.
And needed to make money, and he had a history of writing. It was journalism or poetry, and he didn't do it well, but for what he was trying to write, that didn't matter.
Did you happen to see why he stopped writing and got a quote-unquote real job?
When he started at the oil company, or?
Yeah. There was a reason that he stopped writing at that time.
It was because he was supporting both his mom and his lady.
So...
His mom and his friend's mom.
So he stopped writing because he met another young author who actually killed himself.
Oh.
And he's like, if he had more talent than I did, and if he couldn't make it, what right did I have to try to make it? And that's when he kind of like stepped away from writing until he lost his job as the oil exec.
And he just got his fallback plan was writing.
Yeah.
As far as the content versus atmosphere discussions goes, because we tangented a little bit, but
yeah.
I guess my thoughts on it are, if you're gonna do a movie that's just atmosphere, you can't care about the story. As a creator, you gotta leave it behind. Like a modern atmosphere director, Michael Bay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what his movies are. The story doesn't fucking matter. It's just a link to get us from one set piece to another, right?
It's a formula.
Which
You're
is
finding the things to put the fun scenes you want to see together.
Which is essentially what The Big Sleep is. It's like, all right, how are we going to get him to the next scene? Except that all the set pieces are just conversations with different characters, you know?
Intellectual explosions.
But like other vibes movies would be like Mad God, the Phil Tippett film. That is no dialogue, just a dude descending into hell, essentially. Or the other side of that coin, something like Hundreds of Beavers, which has a plot.
To talk about Hundreds of Beavers.
Dude, I want to tell everyone to watch Hundreds of Beavers. What a fucking film. But it's just a dude surviving in the woods and getting better at surviving in the woods. It's the simplest of stories, no dialogue, but it's so engaging to watch because it's very vibes. Whereas if you're going for content, if you're trying to tell a story, and the story is what's important to you as a creator, there are ways to do vibes. Like, you can make your movie cool, but you gotta put the focus in on the story and make sure the story is told well. And that means sometimes you need a scene in the middle of your film where the character tells the DA what's going on.
I feel like with this specific thing, like the noir genre in general, the Chandler-esque hard-boiled detective,
crime thrillers of the 40s, that
the audience goes into it knowing there's a guy that's going to tell us what's going on, and even if what he says is the stupidest shit I've ever heard, I'm going to believe that he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
It's the freedom you get when you have a formula. So you can do literally the stupidest shit ever, which is like the gay guy kills this guy because he thought he killed his boyfriend, but he didn't kill his boyfriend, so it was actually this other person.
It was the chauffeur who someone maybe killed.
And also, like, secretly this was all orchestrated by this mob guy, who, by the way, survives the novel. He does not get murdered in the novel.
Did I say he did?
You did not.
No, his death in the film is incredible.
It is. It's an excellent scene, but I'm also wondering if that's Hays Code. You showed a bad guy on screen doing bad guy things, you have to kill him.
Yeah. I don't think you have to kill him, but he has to get punished.
Yes.
And that's a pretty apt punishment, if you ask me.
Yeah. Hoisted by his own petard, if you will.
So The Big Sleep earned close to $5 million worldwide on a $1.6 million budget, but it wasn't overwhelmingly praised at the time. Criticism was focused on the plot and how difficult it was to understand, as well as on Bacall's acting. That said, critics praised Bogart's performance as well as the general vibes of the film. And over time, the film became touted as a hallmark of the hard-boiled crime genre, with Marlowe included in AFI's 100 Years series as one of their top heroes, and the film itself included in Roger Ebert's Great Movies list.
Interesting.
The novel was adapted again in 1978, starring Robert Mitchum as Marlowe and Jimmy Stewart as Sternwood.
Interesting. Okay.
So, I watched that today.
Okay.
It is so close to the novel. Everything missing from the 46 film is in this movie. The nudity, the homosexuality, the pornography, the youngest daughter who's named, I think, Camilla?
Carmen.
No, her name is different. They're Charlotte and I think Carmilla in this film. I know. It's fucking weird. He's Rusty Regan again instead of Sean Regan, but they got to change the daughters' names.
Sure,
and
why not?
I think the reason why is because the big difference in this version is it's set in London.
Okay.
For some fucking reason, even though you have American-ass Robert Mitchum playing an American and American-ass Jimmy Stewart playing an American, they both just didn't leave after the war.
Sure.
So all the cops are Brits, and Eddie Mars is British. It's the weirdest choice. But that said, the 78 film did something that the 46 didn't.
Successfully communicate the plot.
Via narration, yeah.
Ah.
Because, like, we know Robert Mitchum knows how to do that. He wrote the screenplay for Billy Wilder, for Double Indemnity.
Okay.
You know, which is... that opens with the character dying, going to a dictaphone, and starting to tell the story. So as you're following the story, he's telling you like what he's thinking in moments. We get that with Robert Mitchum, explaining himself as he arrives at Sternwood's place, and then as he's figuring out key parts of the plot, he just tells us, oh, and then I realized, blah, 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 blah. And then even at the end, he has the monologue where the film gets its title. He talks about the big sleep. That's nowhere in the 46. So as far as adaptations go, I think the 78 film is a better adaptation of that novel.
Is it a better movie?
We'll get there. Well, we are at the part where we see if we recommend it, so... it's a different movie. I only wrote out my thing on the 46. I didn't write out anything on the 78. So if you want to tell me what you thought about the novel while I collect my thoughts.
So, I think I enjoyed it. It's a little rough at parts. As I always say, there is some era-specific sexism, racism, and homophobia. It was something that even at the time, some of his critics called him out for the way that he wrote his female characters and the way that he wrote wrote homosexual characters. He actually got points, though, because he wrote both Mexicans and Irish people well. I'm not joking.
Fair enough.
It's enjoyable to read. The version that I have is 250 pages with the introduction by Ian Rankin. I mean, I know Dashiell Hammett was writing earlier. It really feels like Raymond Chandler defined the hard-boiled detective genre. Like, when you see someone making a pastiche or doing a satire of a hard-boiled detective, it's probably Philip Marlowe. Like, that is how pervasive this character is. I enjoyed it. It's definitely pulpy in that, like, it's no part of it is gonna stick in your brain, but the way that he describes things is very good. It's very pithy, it's very punchy, it's very witty. He does hate women. Philip Marlowe literally says in this book he hates women. It's unclear whether that's because he loves women too much or not. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun. Especially for being a first novel, the prose is excellent. I enjoyed it. Just bear in mind you are going to read the F slur a bunch.
Great.
Only for like 2 chapters though.
Yeah, because he gets killed off pretty quick.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think he gets killed off. He just rots in jail, which might be worse considering.
Geiger?
No, the boyfriend.
Carol.
Yes.
Or Carl, as he is in the 78.
Yes, Carol Lundgren.
Yeah. Dolph Lundgren's dad.
So, how do you feel about these movies? All 3 that you watched.
Well, I'll start with the Bogart. And while I can recognize how stylish the film is, as well as appreciate the acting of Bogart and Bacall, this movie's hard to understand. I first saw it about 10 years back, and the other night I didn't realize I had seen it before until the final scene of the pre-release version.
Oh, you weren't making a joke?
No. I did not remember seeing it. Any of it. Until when Eddie Mars gets shot. And I was like, I've seen this shit before.
I thought you were making a joke.
Nope. No, I was hopeful that it was because the 2 versions were wildly different and I had seen the theatrical the first time and this time was the pre-release, so it was a different movie. But no, when I watched the theatrical version, I just realized it didn't stick at the time. The movie exists in a dreamlike haze. You always kind of know what's going on in the moment, but if you think too hard about more than what's on screen, you start to feel like you missed a scene or two, and character motivations get hazy. Marlowe seems to know what's going on, he just doesn't always think to tell you. This is one of those movies best enjoyed while channel surfing on a late night. You like stumble on it on TCM, you watch a few scenes, then you skip over to diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yeah, it's fun to watch Bogart just chew on some dialogue for a while.
Yeah, like I will go back and watch him and Bacall do the racehorse dialogue in the theatrical version at the restaurant. Like it's an incredibly well written scene, and they're sparking, and the chemistry's electric. I don't know what's going on around it. In contrast to 78, as far as the story goes, it is a better structured film, even better than the pre-release version. That's like kind of makes sense. The Mitchum narration like really lets you know what's going on as it's happening. Jimmy Stewart is a fucking delight as the general. He actually is in 2 scenes. The general's only in 1 scene in the original.
Yeah, and I also feel like that character is exactly, you understand why Marlowe is so willing to be like, yeah, I don't want to ruin this guy's life. Like, that is a perfect casting choice.
Yeah. They keep in, like I said, they keep in the references to pornography and nudity and all that. Which, in the 46 version, you're not quite sure what happened at the house other than somebody died and she's drugged.
Yeah.
And, like, what are the pictures of? They can't be that. Like, you have to, like, infer that she was naked and that they're selling pornography out of the back of that bookstore. You never see what they're doing. The 78 version fucking shows you. You see the fucking lewd pictures of the younger sister. Like, you know what the stakes are. It's very clear. And that helps. That goes a long way towards making the story, understandable.
The line that I was just looking for, this is on page 248 of the version, and it feels like this is kind of the summary of the novel. I do all this for $25 a day, and maybe just a little to protect what little pride a broken and sick old man has left in his blood, in the thought that his blood is not poison. And although his 2 little girls are a trifle wild, as many nice girls are these days, they are not perverse or killers.
I think that line was actually in the 78 film. A lot of lines made it into both films. I could tell because they were the exact same line in both films in the same scene. And when you watch the same movie 3 times in 3 days, you start to pick up on patterns. So yeah, as far as recommending it goes, if you're like I said, if you're channel flipping and the Bogart one's on, yeah, watch a few scenes. They're very fun scenes. If you want to sit down and understand the story, watch the 78 version, which is also way more accessible. I should also note, I borrowed the DVD of the 46 from the library, and it was a 2-sided disc, and side A was the theatrical, and side B was the pre-release, except the label was on the wrong side of the disc. So I put it in, and it was like, okay, I want to make sure I'm watching it, and then the menu screen doesn't specify which side of the disc you're on either. So I started it, and I paused it, and I checked how long it was, and I think the pre-release is 2 minutes longer. So I had to like check it that way to make sure I was watching the right version. So just a heads up, if you're looking it up and you want to know which version you watched, the DVD may lie to you. But yeah, I had to borrow it on DVD because it's not streaming anywhere outside of rental. But the 78 was on Hoopla, and it was on, I think it's on Pluto TV and Prime. It's on a bunch of free streamers right now.
I'm honestly surprised that Criterion hasn't done a collection of just like the noir film.
It's gotta have to do with rights. Because Big Sleep's under Warner. Which, why is that not on Max? You'd think. Anyway, because Max actually cares about classic movies.
Yeah.
I'm calling it Max. It's HBO Max now. Gotta stop dead naming the streamers. Well, I had fun doing a detective story. And I like what the 40s thought the detectives were in LA, and, you know, like what the seedy underbelly of LA looked like with wealthy people and crazy children and drugs and pornography and all that. Let's stick with the detective genre. You
have a suggestion?
Let's go to the other coast and see what was going on in New York in this genre.
All right.
Now, I want you, for our next episode, Cody, to look up a novel called The Detective.
Just The Detective. Succinct.
It's just called The Detective. It came out in 1966, so a little bit later. About 20 years later.
Smidge later.
20 to 30 years later. It's The Detective by Roderick Thorpe.
Roderick Thorpe. Sounds like a wrestler.
Right. Because they did turn The Detective into a movie starring a guy named Frank Sinatra.
Oh my god.
And you know what? I think that's a good place to go next from here. What do you think?
Sure. Let's stick with detectives.
I like detectives. So
I wonder how much The Detective is gonna feel like our pool room novel. What was that called again?
The Color of Money?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like, especially because that was mostly East Coast, I wonder how that's gonna...
Yeah. Well, we'll see, because it's gonna be a very different... We talked a lot about vibes. It's gonna be a very different vibe to The Big Sleep, I think.
Yeah.
But that's next time. Until then, you can find us. Our link tree is in the description on this podcast. Our social media accounts are there. Our email address is there. You can send us comments, suggestions, mistakes, things you want us to talk about in the future.
You don't like the way we pronounce words.
Deal with it or complain about it to our email address. Please talk to me. I'll answer. We also have our Ko-Fi account down there, where if you want to throw a couple bucks our way to thank us for what we're doing, help us pay for podcast hosting fees, you could do that there. You can also check out our other podcast, The Treatment, a podcast about stories with our dear friend Mark Lucas. The most recent episode, we take The Pardoner's Tale, which was an old...
Chaucer, one of the...
Chaucer was an old...
Canterbury Tales.
One of the old Canterbury Tales, and we retell it as a frat boy misadventure in a timeless London. We get a little weird with it. It's a fun time.
We go a little weird.
It's a good time. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time... I'm Billy Beck.
I'm Cody Beck.
And I figured out how to finish a podcast.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Look, it's done. Did you hear how smooth that was?
It's still recording. You haven't stopped it yet.
I can edit this out.
You can, but you won't.
I can. Or I can have music slowly fade up over it. So it sounds like we never actually stopped recording and that you're just a part of our lives.